I've been feeling a little restless lately. It's actually hard for me to admit because I'm an introvert. I've always loved being home. Give me a quiet house, something baking in the oven, paintbrush, or a project to work on. I'm usually pretty happy. So when I started feeling like the walls were closing in, it completely caught me off guard. Ever since we've been down to one vehicle, Tim takes a truck to work during the week. I don't think I realized how often I used to jump in the car. If I needed one ingredient for dinner, I'd go get it. If I wanted to wander through a thrift store for an hour, I could. Sometimes I'd just go for a drive with no place in particular just to clear my mind. Now I can't. That's been harder than I expected. At first I kept telling myself, "You're being silly, Jana. You love being home." And I do. I really do. I love this small little house. And I love quiet mornings, making coffee before the sun's fully awake. And I love standing at the kitchen counter trying to figure out what I'm going to make for dinner. And I move the furniture around every few months until the room feels different. And oh, I love painting. I love hanging another picture on the wall and stepping back just to see how it changes the room. Lately, I've caught myself looking around this little house thinking, I really do love it here. Guess that's why feeling restless surprises me so much. Maybe some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe your world has gotten a little smaller too. You don't drive anymore. Maybe money's tighter than it used to be. Or your health has changed. Or maybe life just looks different than it did a few years ago. Anyway, that's what's been on my mind this week. Last Sunday, Tim and I were out for one of our usual Sunday drives. We try to get out for our Sunday drive every week. We weren't really looking for anything. We just enjoy getting out together before another week starts. And as we drove through one neighborhood, I spotted out on one of those country roads 4 dining room chairs sitting out by the curb. I looked at Tim and he looked at me, and before we knew it, we turned around, loaded them into the truck, and brought them home. Honestly, they were in much better shape than I expected. I gave them a good scrubbing, and Tim got the power washer out and cleaned them even more. They came out beautiful. There's still a few faded dirt marks on them, but that's okay, I don't mind. They're sturdy, they're comfortable, and they look like they've always belonged around our table. Well, Kitty has already decided one of them belongs to her. Yesterday, I hadn't seen her all day, and that's unusual because she's normally somewhere nearby. And I started calling for her, but she never came, which is strange because she always comes when I call her. Started getting a little worried, and then when Tim got home, he started calling for her too. Still nothing. And I started thinking, oh no, I hope she didn't get outside. We looked under the beds, behind the furniture, the closets, everywhere we could think of. Finally, I walked back through the dining room and looked a little bit closer, and there she was, sound asleep on one of those chairs. The chair was pushed all the way under the table, and because the tablecloth hangs down so far, she was completely hidden. She never even opened her eyes while we were walking through the house calling her name. I couldn't believe it. I just stood there laughing. Poor thing, probably wondering what all the fuss was about. Now every time I walk through the dining room and I see her curled up under that chair, it really makes me smile. She loves that chair. I guess it's comfortable or something. And I guess she knew that those chairs belonged here before we did. It's funny how one little thing can brighten up a whole room. I wasn't even looking for dining room chairs. It had never even crossed my mind. But now every time I walk through there, I notice them. And the room just feels different somehow. I think part of it is because I've always enjoyed changing things around the house. Every few months, I'll decide the couch should go on a different wall, or the bookshelf would look better in another corner. Sometimes I'll move a lamp from one room to another and wonder why I didn't do it years ago. Probably drives Tim a little crazy. I think he's gotten used to it by now, and I've learned not to ask him what he thinks until after everything's already been moved, and by then it's too late. The funny thing is, I don't need to spend money to enjoy making the house feel different. Sometimes just moving a few things around makes everything feel fresh again. I think that's one of the reasons I've always loved having a smaller home. Doesn't take much to make it feel new. Painting has been filling a lot of my afternoons lately, too. I'll put on some music, sit down with a blank canvas, and before I know it, a couple of hours have gone by. Sometimes I'll step back and I'll think, well, that turned out better than I expected. Other times I look at it and wonder what in the world I was trying to paint. Thankfully, acrylic paint is so forgiving, and if I don't like it, all I gotta do is paint right over it and start all over. Kitchen's kept me busy too. I don't know how many times this week I've opened the pantry door, looked around, and hoped I'd suddenly have a better idea for dinner. I'll stand there looking at cans, flour, pasta, rice, dry beans, whatever happens to be sitting on the shelves, trying to come up with something that's at least edible. I used to be the kind of person who would just run to the store if I was missing an ingredient. Now I find myself asking, what can I use instead? Honestly, I've surprised myself a few times. Some of those little substitutions have turned out better than the original recipe probably would have. One afternoon this week, I decided I was going to make cookies. Not because anyone asked for them. I just had a craving for something homemade, and I really missed being out in the kitchen baking. I started pulling ingredients out of the pantry. I realized I didn't have everything I normally would have used. And for a second, I thought, well, I guess I'll make something else. Then I remembered I couldn't just run to the store. So I stood there for a minute, looking at everything on the counter, and started wondering what I could change. Sometimes that could kind of be fun. Feels kind of like solving a puzzle. So I swapped a few ingredients, hoping for the best, and slid the cookie sheet in the oven. You know how you're never really sure how something's going to turn out till you open the oven door? Well, I kept peeking through that little window like I was somehow going to make them bake faster or something. I don't know. And when the timer on the oven went off, I pulled them out and I let them cool for a few minutes. I took a bite and I thought, well, those are really pretty good. I don't know if I'll ever remember exactly what I changed, but I probably should have written it down. I've done that more than once. I'll make something that turns out really good, and the next time I try to make it, I can't remember what I did different. Maybe that's just part of cooking from scratch. Some days you follow the recipe, and other days, the recipe follows you. And every once in a while, you accidentally create something you'll want to make again. I've been finding myself doing that more often lately. Instead of thinking about what I don't have, I've been looking a little harder at what I do have. Sometimes that's led to a pretty good dinner, and sometimes it's led to a pretty good cookie. Either way, nobody around here has been complaining. To tell you the truth, while I'm thinking about all this, something else has just come back to me. About 13 years ago, Tim and we didn't have a vehicle at all. We rode the bus everywhere. If we needed groceries, we took the bus or we walked. And if we had an appointment, we took the bus. That was just our life back then. And then eventually we were able to buy a car. A few years later, we bought the truck. And somewhere along the way, I think I forgot what those years were like. I've spent so much time missing my car and wishing I could leave whenever I wanted that I forgot to be thankful we still have the truck. It's funny how easily we get used to the very things we once prayed for. I don't think I needed a different week. I think I just needed to remember an older one. Maybe that's why I've been looking around this little house a little different lately. The chairs we found sitting by the side of the road. Katie asleep under the dining room table. A fresh batch of cookies. Paint drying on a canvas, and a quiet afternoon at home. None of it was really very special or extraordinary. But when I look back over this past week, I realized it has been full of the kind of moments I'll probably remember years from now. It was a good week. Thank you so much for spending part of it with me. And I'll see you next time.